It's the preview of the Flat 8 course on Indy Velo, and see, it's slightly dark here. They start you off in the dark. This is one lap. Now, this is slightly confusing because the course is called Flat 8. It's not entirely flat. If you look in the bottom right hand corner, you can see the profile. There are a couple of lumps in there and it gets steep in places, and we think that in any race that will be a key point where attacks happen. One comes quite early. The other thing is it's not 8 kilometres long, it's 11 kilometres long. Well, at least it is for the first lap. We start here along the coast, then we go up to a figure of 8 lap course. So the second lap is the figure of 8, which is 7.7 kilometres, but the first lap is about 10.2 kilometres, giving you a total of 17.9 if you did 2 laps, and obviously if you carried on doing laps it would be an extra 7.7 each time you went round. So I've given you the clue. It's a figure of 8 once you get onto the course, which is why it's called the Flat 8. However, before we get on the course, we are going to leave this coastline here and go up a fairly steep ramp within the first 2 kilometres, around 2 kilometre mark. And I think in any race, that is the first point where you're going to get a split in the peloton. It gets quite steep in places. And you can see in the profile there's that second ramp about halfway through, which again is going to cause a little bit of fracture, I think, in the peloton, and you should do that one twice. So look out for that three points at which I think the steepness of the gradient will fracture the peloton. Now then, obviously this coastal bit just along here, fairly flat, nothing too arduous, and you might as well just make sure you can get into a group and get as much draft as possible during this section, because as I say, as soon as you hit that lump, you are going to go up some fairly steep inclines. You can see the arrow. If you look at the grey profile, let's say in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, you'll see the little arrow showing where we are, and we're gradually sort of getting towards the ramp. Now, as you'd imagine, the ramp is caused by the fact that we're going to turn inland and go up into the island. On the coast is fairly flat because you're going along sea level, but as soon as you hit that ramp, you're going into the island. We're going up to the South Lake on the island. If you're familiar with the Indy Velo landscape, there's a North Lake and a South Lake. We're going up to the South Lake and doing some laps around it in a figure of 8 type of shape. So anyway, let's see how it all pans out. Still a little bit dim here, but it brightens up during this preview. You can get fairly decent speeds here. Be careful of the wind though. You can see in the top right hand corner there's a little box there, and in the top left hand corner of that is an arrow. That shows you the wind direction, and you'll also get little wisps of white lines going across the road telling you where the wind is and which way it's going. The way the line moves is the direction of the wind. And I certainly found during this preview that a couple of times when I went into the headwind without looking at the wind, I hadn't realised something into a headwind and assumed I was going up a hill, only to find that it was the headwind. So it's quite effective, and one of the features that makes Indy Velo work so well. As we carry on along this coastline, as I say, nothing, you can see it's 0 degrees gradient. It's again in the top right hand corner. Now it's gone up to 1 degree gradient there. That's only because the shoreline's sort of slightly lifting away. The shoreline, the road is slightly higher than the beach there. You've got a 1% gradient. This shouldn't really register too much. It's back down to 0. It was temporary. But at the moment we start to climb, which is now, because you can see the coast road goes off to the left, we start going up. Now that gradient's already hit 11%, and just look at my speed drop now down to, what's that, 10 kph, struggling up that 12% gradient. And as I say, this is where I think the race is going to fracture. You can see it's just on that 2 kilometres point, and it goes, I mean, you can see basically where you've got to get up to. You can see the horizon there, but once we get up into that, it gets better. It drops down, eases off a little bit here, 6%. You get speed up a little bit, but of course you've lost momentum. And as I say, I think in any race, this is where the peloton is going to fragment. If you can stay as near the front as possible, I think you're going to have a very good chance for the rest of the race. However, there will be 2 laps of that figure of 8 course, so there's still a long way to go. You can see on, again, go to that top right hand corner box, you can see there's a bar at the bottom is sort of green for how far I've gone, showing I've got 8.8 kilometers to go. That's only because it's registering one lap. If I was doing the second lap, you had 7.7 kilometers onto that, so 16.5 to go and 2.2 done. So that's where we are. You can see it now down to 3% as we can start seeing the top. This gives me the option to go on the South Lake Sprint or South Lake Start. It won't on your race because, of course, you will be. It will be a predetermined course for the race. I'm riding just to do the preview here, so obviously it gives me options to steer, which I like because if you're stuck on one course you might get a bit bored, but at least you get one of these little options to turn off and go elsewhere. So we're back down, we're over that little lump and a little bit of a drop now to -1%. You can see the lake just on the left now as we head towards the start of what I call the laps. Now when we get to the start of the 7.7 kilometre lap, you will go under an arch which says 1 lap to go. You can see the lake there. We're at the South Lake now, so we're inland. You can see the arch the other side of the lake there. That's one of those start points. So we get to that start point and we will be at the start of a lap, about 400 metres to get to the start point of the lap. You can see there's more than one. There's one on this side of the lake as well. They're for different courses, different races and things like that. They're all there all the time. But as I say, when we get to this one just in front of us now, it will tell us that we're about to start lap 1. So this is the little introductory bit, the extra bit, and as you can see, it says that we've done 0 laps. Now you're going to go around the course from here twice, so that's the introductory bit over. It's 2 laps of this, 7.7 kilometres. As I said, you can see we're down to 7.6 kilometres already. Now it's reasonably flat around the lake, but like I said, keep your eye on that profile at the bottom there as we get another one of these little options. We're obviously going around the South Lake because this is South Lake loop that we're doing. Remember, it's the flat 8, it's not flat, and it's not 8 kilometres, it is a figure of 8. That's why it's called 8, because if you actually look at the profile after you've done it, you'll see that the laps are in a figure of 8 shape. But as I say, you can see from the arrow down at the bottom on that grey profile at the bottom of your screen, we're on a little flat section now. We're around the lake, so if it's not sea level, it's lake level, but the level of the water determining how flat it is. But there is this lump to come, this second lump. Now the second lump, of course, you will do twice because it's on the lap. So there's 3 points at which you'll get fairly steep gradients, and I think attacks will happen or people will fall out. So again, we get another one of these options, but you won't in the race, I believe, because the you'll be on a predetermined race course, and we'll come up and we're going to go around the lake, as I said, because it's the loop, and it's going to be fairly flat until we get to that extra lump, isn't it? So 6.8 kilometres to go. Wonderful graphics. Not a lot of buildings in the Indy Velo skins at the moment, but I'm sure that will all evolve over time. I'm sure we didn't all get on a bike just to look at architecture just yet, but I'm sure that as things get added to this wonderful platform, it will just get more and more interesting. It is really designed for racing as well, so it's one of those things where the early features are all based on making racing superior on this platform, and I think they've done a very good job of that. There's a number of things that make it better. Currently, at the time of doing this, I've seen some experiments where people are comparing this to other platforms, and one particularly large platform, which it shows that this platform is getting more accurate readings on your data, your actual speed, draft effect, things like that. So the evidence on the research that I've seen suggests that this is better refined than any other platform out there, I believe, at the moment. And of course, the other feature of it is it's very much designed to regulate and ensure that riders are legitimate and everything else. So it's got a number of features in it to ensure fair racing. So fair and accurate racing is what we really want. I think we can have some more sort of graphics on it another day. That's not the prime importance. It also is very it's a platform that's very easy to use. It doesn't glitch too much. Now you can see we're hitting this second bump, and 15% right down to 9 kph. You can see the top, it's not very long, but a stronger rider would have left me there. I'm overtaking the bots that are currently on the course, which shows I'm probably not doing it too badly, but down to 11%. I should be speeding up a little bit, but I think already the effect of that 15% section slowed me down. Up to 13 kph now as we hit 7%, 5%, and just gradually getting some speed back in my legs, taking it up to 20 kph as we get to the top at 2%. So once over the top, remember you're going to have to do that one twice, and it slowed me right down as you saw there. It's probably going to do the same for everybody, but of course we've all got different abilities of getting up a 15% climb, haven't we? About I suppose 5.6 kilometers to go, so we're 2k into the loop. So the first climb 2k from the little extra bit, the introductory section, and 2k's into the lap. Roughly you're going to get the 2 climbs. So if you just think about the 2k, that's where you're going to get those. It might be worth going out front and gaining a little bit of gap if you're worried about the climb, you know, getting some extra meters in front of the other riders before you hit that. We come down again, we're on this figure of 8, and it does come back down to the beach, so we are going to have to go back up again. You will see this one just towards the end of the lap. It does sort of gradually climb, but that's not very steep, not like the first two. So if you want to include the last one as a climb, it'll mean you do 5 climbs during a 2-lap race, or 3 climbs if you only do it once. Obviously extrapolate that, you can either count that as 1 climb or 2 climbs per lap. I don't think the second one towards the finish is significant in terms of gradient. However, in a racing situation, those that can cope with a small gradient better might fare better towards the end there, so bear that in mind as well. Again, if you're not the best up a climb, then you might want to try and distance yourself and get out front so that you've got some sort of gap that the other riders have to make up to reach you. There is a little dip just before the finish. So I'm slacking a little bit now and getting caught by one of the bots. I was struggling a little bit here, getting rather hot, and decided to unzip my jersey and the zip jammed. Lost concentration on the race, I'm sorry to say, or race ride should I say. But anyway, back into action now as we do this minus 1%. I mean, we're by the beach. I mean, it's neither here nor there. It's nice to have any minus. It makes things a little bit easier, but of course it's the same for every other rider in a race, so you don't get a particular advantage if everybody else decides to go for it on that bit. Back down to a normal regular 0% as we go along the beach. Obviously we've got to go back inland to get back up to the lake, the other side now, and we still got a way to go before we get there. It's still what 3.9 kilometers to go, and we still got a fairly flat course before we get to that gradual climb up to the finish. So as I say, the title of the course is Flat 8. It's not flat and it's not 8 kilometers. It's a figure of 8, and I'm guessing I'm not quite sure why they call it flat. Maybe it's I'll have to inquire why it's called Flat 8, because I don't think it is flat, even if you just do the figure of 8 course excluding the introductory section. But 8 kilometers, no, I suppose a lap isn't it? 7.7, it's nearly 8, rounded up it's 8, but it's the figure of 8 I think they got the title from. So gradually getting about halfway across this beachy section before we sort of turn inland and start the gentle rise towards the finish at 3.3 kilometers to go, and just casually pedalling away, getting a little bit slower than I have been, but I was into the wind at this point and I was beginning to notice it. You can see that little wisp of white line that we just passed, going in roughly the same direction, well, in the opposite direction to where I'm going, but aligned with my direction, if you like. And you can see now that I've gone around a bend and it's not so bad. It's a crosswind now coming from my left, and this will change as I go around bends, of course. but I certainly noticed it while I was doing this, that every time I hit one of those headwinds I slowed down. You can see now I'm out of that headwind and I'm up to 36 again. I was on 32 during the headwind. That was the effect on me. Obviously I'm not racing during this, so it's not quite the same. Neither am I going flat out because it's a race, and neither am I benefiting from the draft because I've got other riders around me. Although, as I say, I've got a feeling that this will fragment a little bit into smaller groups because of those double-digit climbs that we've got at 2 kilometres and 2 kilometres into the first lap and 2 kilometres into the second lap. Still at 0%, but getting ever closer to that gentle rise away from the beach. You can see the road's slightly above the beach now, isn't it? But still at 0% at the moment. Going into a headwind, as you can see the speed's dropped now down to 34. This is direct headwind that I'm going into now. Just about to go around the bend, which should ease things off. Managing 36 on this occasion, although I've got a -1 gradient to assist and compensate the wind. Starting to go around that turn, you can see the wisp of the wind went across the road there, going across the road rather than directly at me. And now we're coming up to the turn inland, which will mark the start of that climb up to the finishing line. It drops a little bit into the finishing line, but it's really a gentle, gradual climb up to the finishing line from here. So the magical 2 kilometres, it's 2.1 here, but assume 2.9. So every time it's 2 meters from the start, from the finish, and from the start of the lap, you'll get a climb. Now you can see this isn't particularly steep, 2% here. As I say, it's possibly enough at flat out racing conditions to start causing gaps, but as I say, I didn't particularly feel this 1% here, and the distance coming down now, well under 2 kilometres to go, and the gradient not troubling me at all, even levelling out to 0 here. Got a bit of a tailwind now. It's not quite a tailwind, but you can see the wind direction is going north easterly, as I am. Coming up to another bend, I'm actually going to turn into that wind with a bit of luck, and I've got a -1 gradient here. So again, it's it's relatively easy, but of course everybody's going to be jostling for position to get themselves ahead for this finish. So under 1.5 kilometres to go, back to this 1% gradual gradient on the side of the lake there. So this is the other side of the loop as we count down. I think people will be beginning to sort of put their finishing strategy together here based on who's around them. 1.3, quite a way out to go, but there are riders out there who do use this, and they create enough of a gap that by the time everybody tries to catch up, it's too late. Just heading under another one of these barriers. This isn't the finishing line though, this is the start finishing line of another race. You can see nothing's lit up on the board hanging from the arch there. That tells us it's nothing to do with our race as we hit the final kilometre. So we will be seeing our finish line come up very, very soon. First time you see it, it won't be the finish. You'll have another 7.7 kilometres to go around the figure of 8, missing out that introductory section with that first steep climb. So after the finishing line, if you've got a two-lap race, you are going to be doing 7.7 kilometres with 2 climbs, one steep and this gentle one that's reasonably insignificant towards the finishing line. And we're getting to the top of that. We're doing this little dip down into the finishing line now. 600 metres to go as we swing round, following the shores of the lake, of course, and count it down. This is where I think the sprint will be. There's this little 4%, 5% rise. This is the last little bit of climbing, and then we drop down into the finishing line. We should see the finishing line coming into view very, very soon as we go around this bend. Getting quite busy here with bots. We can't quite see the finishing line yet. There it is. We can see it at the side of the road with 400 metres to go. So you can set your sights on where you've got to sprint to from here. But now it's -1. This is the drop. So 400 metres to go. So when you start seeing the finishing line, you get the negative gradient. and that really for me is where the sprinting is all going to happen. In actual fact, I think I probably was wrong. That wasn't the finishing line, is this one, isn't it? I think that might have been another one. But anyway, 400 metres to go. That's your sprint point. 100 metres to go here now as we come through this finishing line and complete our preview. Hope you have a good race when you come to do it. Enjoy.